to this daily PBJ devotional. Read Numbers 27, Isaiah 17 and 18, as well as Psalm 132 to keep up with the Old Testament reading schedule for this year. This devotional is about Numbers 27. Now the daughters of Zelophehad, son of Hepher, son of Gilead, son of Machir, son of Manasseh, belonged to the clans of Manasseh, son of Joseph. These were the names of his daughters: Mahlah, Noah, Hoglah, Milcah, and Tirzah. They approached the entrance to the tent of meeting, stood before Moses, Eleazar the priest, the leaders, and the whole congregation, and said, "Our father died in the wilderness, but he was not among the followers of Korah, who gathered together against the Lord. Instead, he died because of his own sin, and he had no sons. Why should the name of our father disappear from his clan because he had no sons? Give us property among our father's brothers." So Moses brought their case before the Lord, and the Lord answered him, "The daughters of Zelophehad speak correctly. You certainly must give them their property as an inheritance among their father's brothers, and transfer their father's inheritance to them. Furthermore, you shall say to the Israelites, if a man dies and leaves no son, you are to transfer his inheritance to his daughter. If he has no daughter, give his inheritance to his brothers. If he has no brothers, give his inheritance to his father's brothers. And if his father has no brothers, give his inheritance to the next of kin from his clan, that he may take possession of it. This is to be a statutory ordinance for the Israelites, as the Lord has commanded Moses." Then the Lord said to Moses, "Go up to this mountain of the Abarim range, and see the land that I have given to the Israelites. After you have seen it, you too will be gathered to your people, as your brother Aaron was. For when the congregation contended in the wilderness of Zin, both of you rebelled against my command to show my holiness in their sight regarding the waters. Those were the waters of Meribah and Kadesh in the wilderness of Zin." So Moses appealed to the Lord, "May the Lord, the God of the spirits of all flesh, appoint a man over the congregation who will go out and come in before them, and who will lead them out and bring them in, so that the congregation of the Lord will not be like sheep without a shepherd." And the Lord replied to Moses, "Take Joshua, son of Nun, a man with the Spirit in him, and lay your hands on him. Have him stand before Eleazar the priest and the whole congregation, and commission him in their sight. Confer on him some of your authority, so that the whole congregation of Israel will obey him. He shall stand before Eleazar the priest, who will seek counsel for him before the Lord by the judgment of the Urim. At his command, he and all the Israelites with him, the entire congregation, will go out and come in." Moses did as the Lord had commanded him. He took Joshua, had him stand before Eleazar the priest and the whole congregation, and laid his hands on him, and commissioned him, as the Lord had instructed through Moses. This is God's word. Although his sin prevented him from entering the land, Moses did not mourn his own loss or spend the rest of his life moping about how he deserved better. In fact, his focus was not on himself at all. He was concerned about the future of Israel without a clear leader. We saw this in today's reading in verses 15 through 17. Here it is in the NIV, which says, "Moses said to the Lord, 'May the Lord, the God who gives breath to all living things, appoint someone over this community to go out and to come in before them, one who will lead them out and bring them in, so the Lord's people will not be like sheep without a shepherd.'" Israel had such a hard time living in obedience to God's word with a clear leader like Moses. How could they possibly follow the Lord without someone who would care for them and watch over them like Moses did? What an incredibly tender heart Moses had for the people who had treated him so poorly. When they sinned, he interceded for them. When they were ready to receive God's promises without him, he prayed that the Lord would give them a good leader to shepherd them. God answered Moses' prayer with Joshua in verse 10. Notice, though, that Joshua would not fulfill 100% of Moses' responsibilities. Moses led the people, spoke to God directly on behalf of the people, and received God's communication for the people. Joshua would fill the role of leader, especially in a military sense. But Eleazar would take over the role of communicating with God. We see that in verse 21. And this transition of leadership did not wait until Moses died. God wanted to begin answering Moses' prayer now. So in verse 20, God commanded Moses to begin handing over leadership to Joshua, even while Moses was still alive. In obedience to God, Moses publicly designated Joshua as his successor and commissioned him in the sight of all the people. We saw that in verses 22 through 23. Many leaders would be threatened by this, but not Moses. His concern was for the people, not for himself. Truly, Moses was a very humble man, more humble than anyone else on the face of the earth, as we read earlier in Numbers chapter 12, verse 3. The lesson for us is clear. Godly leadership is concerned with providing what the people need to be obedient to God. It is not concerned with receiving as much power, respect, success, or whatever as possible. This is the difference between humble, godly leadership and the worldly leadership that thinks it's all about me. As you consider how you lead your family, or the ministry at church that you're involved in, or whatever you find yourself leading, is your concern to find the best way to provide godly leadership, even if it takes the spotlight off of you? Or do we let the strength of our sin nature corrupt how we lead, so that we think of ourselves first and our flock last? Think about that today, and I'll see you next time. May God bless you. Hope you have a great day today.